of the City of Washougal hereby certify that the following infrastructure investment has received the full review and vetting required by law, and that I accept responsibility that the infrastructure investment is an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars. And then there's an exact definition of what the East Street project is, so that everybody knows when they see this piece of paper that we're talking about this exact thing. My issue with regards to this, I'm not going to understand my council members and my colleagues' points, and many of them are valid, and I support many of the points that have been made. I won't rehash any of that. What I want to point out is I'll be voting no against this because when the statement says, I accept responsibility, there's no mention of the city council or the legislative body accepting responsibility. And as such, I think it would be appropriate for me not to be accepting responsibility if I'm not required to accept responsibility for this statement. And that's my statement.
Other members? Dave?
Flexibility comes in many guises. Mr. Greenlee is correct. The councilmanic bond is more flexible in terms of repayment terms.
I'm sorry, that's not true.
I'm sorry, the ARA is more flexible in terms of repayment terms. My concern, and Mr. Greenlee's point was a counterpoint to my original concern several weeks ago, is that we are empowering the federal government to dictate control over city projects. And this I do not want to do. I want to retain that control here. That's the kind of flexibility I'm looking for. And I don't think we're going to get it with stimulus funds, and this is stimulus funding. I had 4 objections to stimulus funding. The Post-Record was kind enough to print my article about that, so I won't bother you with the details, but I'll give you the headliners. Stimulus funding is ineffective. It hasn't done the job that it was designed to do. Borrowed stimulus funding reduces demand in the private sector, which it does. Future generations will pay for our extravagance, which I find unconscionable. And current spending levels will cause a financial crisis. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You can read the details in the Post-Record. And Dawn, thank you very much for taking the time to consider my article. Thank you.
Rod?
Two comments have been made by both council members, and I'm trying to understand this. Paul's argument is that if we get this stimulus fund money and we could pay it off in 10 years, RJ, what would we save the citizens of Washougal? But if we get tied to 30 years and we can't pay in advance, we're stuck to it. That's a number you need to bring back at the workshop, because that to me is a huge factor. Whether it's still a tool, but over a 30-year period and sticking another generation with these funds, a councilmanic bond that you'd like to have is certainly sticking somebody with it. We could pay this, if we could pay this thing off in 10 years, we could save the citizens an awful lot of money. It's another tool.
Dave, go ahead.
I agree. I think it's bloody unlikely we're going to be able to pay it off in 10 years. Beyond that, I think that having a loan at anywhere near the rates that we could get a councilmanic bond for would be a good investment over 30 years, because inflation that's going to eat this country alive and is right around the corner would degrade the value of the money that we're repaying the loan with. And so I think the current value of the money is well spent on a councilmanic bond. And I take your point exactly, Rod. If we could pay it off in 10 years, I'd be all for it. That's the way I work my personal finances. I sacrifice to do it. I don't see us being able to do that, unfortunately.
You've got a pretty neat crystal ball, because the rest of us don't have that.
John?
I don't think it takes one. I think you just look at the indicators.
I would say that, you know, prior to the stimulus money even existing, councilmanic bonds were the way to go. That's the way we always did things. If you needed to buy things, you get a councilmanic bond to get it done. I mean, this isn't new money or a new source of revenue for us. The stimulus money is new. This is more federal entanglements, and yeah. So Councilmanic bonds are not, they're a tool we've used through the history. Yeah, they're great tools.
I'm on board with you on that.
Yeah.
Any other comments before we go to a vote?
Just quick question, for any staff that remember, have we used FDA loans before?
Not in the 5 years that I've been here, and not going back to anything that we have in file, no.
USDA ones? Rod?
Councilman Dolpar, you said that according to the terminology back here, that I accept responsibility. So are you assuming then that if we vote on this, we're assuming the responsibility? Because I would certainly entertain another motion to kill this vote and let the mayor sign off.
Well, I think that's how I'm going to take this vote exactly, is that the mayor has the ability to sign this without our approval. And I can understand the mayor's desire to ask us to back him up on this vote, especially since it's indefinite. And I was looking, trust me, I looked a long time in the ARA to find out, what does this mean? I mean, I don't think there's any doubt in the public's mind or in our minds that this is infrastructure investment is an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars, outside of almost all infrastructure improvements being inappropriate, which is a different discussion. But I think from the common understanding, this fits the definition. So I don't think that there's any danger of the mayor being found on the wrong side of accepting this responsibility. My issue is, if the mayor is the one accepting the responsibility, then my vote is going to stay out of it. That's simply where I'm standing there, and I won't hold it against the mayor if he signs it after I vote no.
Any other questions, comments?
How would you feel about tabling it then?
I would think that would be the same thing as voting against it, but tabling, I mean, well, personally, I would have no problem with tabling it.
For what reason?
Yeah, let's vote.
It gets you nowhere.
Let's vote.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to sign the ARRA certification for the E Street improvement projects. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain?
RJ, would you go ahead with a roll call?
Councilmember McDaniel,
Abstain?
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Russell,
No.
Councilmember Shoemaker,
No.
Councilmember Delavar,
No.
Councilmember Greenlee,
Aye.
Councilmember Costin.
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Motion carries. Agenda Bill 102-10.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, this is to request the mayor's, to authorize the mayor to sign the same certification, but this is for the Zone 4 Reservoir Improvement Project.
Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the ARRA certification for the Zone 4 Reservoir Improvement Project.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain?
Roll call?
Councilmember Russell,
No.
Councilmember McDaniel,
Abstain?
Councilmember Costin,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Shoemaker. Sorry, Councilmember Shoemaker,
Dave?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which way I'm going on this.
Oh,
Aye.
okay.
Number 2 on the agenda.